Hi everyone, I'm Law of the West, and I wanted to give you a quick rundown on the changes that they've made to the new MFD screens. Now hopefully this is going to save you a lot of time, because how some of these changes work aren't as clear as they could be, but once you've figured it out, you'll find that all these menus are easy to navigate through. The new screens that they've added are Weapons Config, Shield, Self-Status, Target Status, Scanning, Configuration, Communications, and Power Management. And they've added in 2 holographic displays that sit on top of your MFDs that I'll also be going over. And I think that a good place to start is with how the power management screen works. The power management MFD has 3 indicators at the top that have red icons next to them. The first is your ship's IR emissions. Next to it is your EM levels, and lastly there's an indicator for your ship's cross-section. If you press and hold F and hover your pointer over any of them, they'll display a tooltip that lets you know what they are. Your output levels are on the upper left, and it shows how much reserve power you have and what your total power levels are. You can take your reserve power and assign it to any of the components that are listed on the right. Each component will have its own energy stack, and at the bottom of the stack will be an icon that indicates what it is. You can quickly turn a component on and off by left-clicking on its icon. When you see a grayed out triangle with a power symbol in the middle, that means that a component has been powered down or is inactive. Some components need a certain amount of power for them to be activated, so if you don't have enough reserve power, then you won't be able to turn it on. On top of your MFD that's located the furthest to the left will be a holographic display that shows what the current operator mode you're in, and what your velocity is, what your current speed is measured in meters per second, and it will also indicate how much G-force your ship is currently pulling. The 2 operator mode choices are either the SCM or a nav mode. And this is important because the MFDs will change what they're displaying depending on what mode you're in, and you can switch between SCM and nav mode by pressing and holding the B button. Below this indicator is a submenu. This is also very important because the submenu choices will change depending on if you're in SCM or nav mode. If you're in SCM mode, the submenu options will be gun mode, missile mode, or scanning mode. And you can switch between them by pressing the middle mouse button. This will also change the icon that's being displayed that's located right next to it. If you're looking for things like what your current missile count is or how much fuel you have, you need to be in the appropriate operator mode and in the right submenu. And then more information about that particular category will be displayed in the self-status screen. But if you're in nav mode, your submenu choices will be QT, FLT, or SCM. If you press left alt in the scroll wheel, you can set your speed limiter, and by pressing left alt plus C, you can set your cruise control. On the right is another holographic display that shows your boost, the afterburner speed, and your decoy count. When your boost reads 100%, that means it's fully charged up, and that number will count down as it gets used. The AFT meters your afterburner. As I said before, your self-status screen will change depending on what operator mode you're in and what submenu you've selected. The self-status SCM screens are Missile, Gun, and SCN, which is a scan mode. The Gun submenu will show if your gimbaled mode is on or off, what weapons group number you have currently selected, and what your weapon's capacitor or ammo count is. Also, if you hold F and click on any of the weapons that are being displayed, it'll show what its name is, what hardpoint it's located on, and what weapons group it's assigned to. But if you've highlighted the missile submenu, it'll show what ordnance type you have readied and how many missiles you have. You can mouse wheel up or down to cycle between which missile type is active, and you can press G to arm more missiles for a burst fire mode. If you're in the nav menu, it'll display your quantum and hydrogen fuel levels in the self-status screen. This is something that's thrown a lot of people, because these levels are not on display at all times like they used to be. And this was something else that was confusing a few people. If you scan something, that information is going to appear on the scan screen. So if you don't have that screen actively open on one of your MFDs, you won't be able to see it. If it's not already open, then you'll need to manually switch one of your other MFDs to the scan screen. Then you'll have to target the ship that you want to scan, and after that, it'll display all their information under one of 3 different tabs you can click on for more details. Those 3 tabs are Info, Parts, and Cargo. The nav screen submenu options are SCM, QT, and FLT, which is short for flight. If you switch to nav mode, the self-status screen will display your fuel levels for the SCM and QT submenus. You can manually add to or decrease the size of any of your shield faces. The only thing that you have to be mindful of is that if it isn't letting you do this, then that means your ship has a shield bubble, which means that it only has one face. So its shield is going to have the same value for all of its sides. You have a reset button in the upper right corner of the MFD that'll set all the shield face values back to their default settings. And on the top left is an indicator that shows how much total shield power you have to work with. Every ship has its own set of warning indicators, and they're almost all located in different places, but they all have the same purpose. They'll be grayed out, yellow, or red to indicate that a component is either underpowered, going critical, or offline. They'll also warn you if you're being target locked or if you're about to hit something. The indicator labels are power, weapons, thruster, shield, proximity, quantum, radar, missile, cooler, and hit. The weapons configuration screen is where you'll set your weapons into groups. It'll also display what ammo type they use and what their ammo counts are. And all you have to do is click on a box to set a specific weapon to a particular group. And here's something that's been throwing a lot of people as well. If you find that you can't switch between weapons groups, it's because only Group 1 is active by default. You'll have to go into your config screen, then choose key bindings, and then vehicles-weapons, and then you'll have to scroll down a bit to find the weapons preset options 1 through 4. Click on one and then assign a button to it. Then it'll work after that. The target communication and scan mode screens are fairly self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go into too much detail with them. But you can ping the radar by pressing the tab button, and you can target a ship by pressing T, and you can quickly deselect a target by pressing left alt plus T. The configuration menu is also pretty easy to use. Just click the button to the right for any option to activate it, and click to the left to turn it off. If an option is active, it'll appear bright green, while any option that's been turned off will turn light blue. The only thing to watch out for is there's a general and a gunner's tab, both of which have a different list of options under each of them, and a lot of people seem to have missed that. In order to scan something, you have to be in SCM mode and have the scan submenu chosen. While you're in that mode, you have to highlight a ship and then press the left mouse button to scan it. All of its information will appear on any MFD that's been set to the scan screen. There'll also be 3 tabs you can click on that will show the scanned ship's information, what parts it has, and if it's got any cargo. The communication screen will automatically display all of the contacts that are within range of your ship. This includes other vessels and any available landing zones. All you need to do is click on the button that's located next to their name to initiate a hail. There's also a button at the bottom of the screen that you can use to stop the transmission. The target status screen will display the target's IR, EM, and cross-section signatures at the top. It'll show a hollow image of what you're targeting to let you know what its current velocity is and what factions it's affiliated with. Well, that's not quite everything about the MFDs, and I've been discovering new stuff every time I jump in and start messing around with them. But hopefully this should answer enough of your questions to let you get started when it comes to navigating through the various options that you'll find within your MFDs. I've been your host, Law of the West. Thanks for watching, and take care.